finance and revenue and just overall economic development for the TEC. So great to have you here.
Thank you, guys. Looking forward.
Yeah. So hey, Livia. Okay, let's jump into. I'm going to share my screen. Am I sharing it? Nope. I'm gonna share my screen. And basically today we're gonna do a quick check-in, do update on the strategy, update on analysts. Then I'd like to just do like a little jam session where there's a doc that I've put together that's just like a place where everybody can just kind of put their interests and like specialties, their expertise and stuff like that. And then talk a little bit about the Sampo manifesto. And that should be plenty for today, I'm guessing. But any other things that people feel like, wow, we need to talk about this today? No? Okay. All right. Well, let's see. I know I was going to do one other thing. Oh, yeah, I know what I was going to do. Zach, do you want us to call you Crypto Zach or Zach or what? What's
Crypto
your
Zach.
preference?
Crypto Zach is great. Yeah.
Okay, Crypto Zach. So, do you want to read the Sampo the weekly reading at the top? Can you see that? All right.
Is this my captcha?
Yeah, this one right here. This like Sampo is the.
Sampo is the Finnish mythic horn of plenty. It symbolizes the working group's purpose, mission-driven, community-owned, and governed capital to advance the field of token engineering. We focus on financial management, income generation, and the economic development that builds demand for the TEC token.
Cool, thank you. And this may be the last week of that particular phrasing because we're going to get into in the manifesto. One of the things I want to talk about is there's a couple of different versions of the mission, and I think it's time to lock it down. So that's part of what we want to talk about today. So let's open it up. Here's the check-in question. The term capacity building, what does that mean to you, if anything? And I will start. Olivia, can you kick it off?
What does capacity building mean?
Yep.
Well, yeah, this term was kind of new to me, so I was reading your description of it, and what I understood was kind of like, how can we create internally what we need for the sustainability of our success? Like, so do we have what it takes to build what we need? That's kind of what I understood. And I'll pass to Griff.
Capacity building for me is like, I think of like a battery, right? And I think of like making the battery bigger. So maybe it's not a perfect analogy, but that's what I think of, It's just like, okay, how do we make a bigger battery that can charge more things? And I'll pass it to Yas.
I need to really brainstorm on this one. But maybe like from what the guys explained, I think it's some sort of like a regeneration from the resources that already exist. I'll pass it to Bear 100.
Yeah, thank you. So for me and for what I've understand so far, I think it has to do with more like personal development and growth in terms of skills and in terms of knowledge and in terms of relationships, everything that could fall into the scope of capacity, I would say. Yeah, it's kind of tricky, but yeah, that's what I would get. I got distracted, so I don't know who to pass it to.
Sure, I'll pass it for you. Rex, do you want to go?
Sure. I guess in the spirit of analogies, I'll say kind of capacity building is like planting the seeds in order to see them bloom and have a forest rather than a small garden. So yes, that's my analogy. I think it's a matter of kind of redistributing our efforts towards actions or the way we do things in order to kind of grow into a better, bigger, more sustainable commons. And who else is missing? I'm not sure.
Crypto Zach, bring us home.
So to me, capacity building is a combination of what Griff, Rex, and Lydia were talking about, where it's the ability to do more of the things that you want to do. Kind of like with proof of work mining with Bitcoin, you have mining farms build capacity by expanding their amount of miners that they can fit to increase the maximum amount of proof of work. I think in contrast to that, there's probably capability building, which is more expanding your horizontal skill set compared to the vertical capacity that you can have.
Great, thank you. I'm always curious what people think about terms like this when it's kind of a new term. This is a term that the nonprofit and the philanthropic world uses all the time. And what they mean by it is like the ability to invest in the financial sustainability of an organization, but also its ability to deliver on its mission. Those are kind of like, money and mission. But I like these analogies. I really like that battery one. Actually, that's cool. That's a nice simple way of thinking about it. Okay, so here's the update on the strategy, the Sampo strategy. Document's gotten some good feedback from folks. I presented just kind of a relatively quick overview to the Stewards Council on Thursday, and then got some advice from the stewards this morning about how to get broader feedback from folks on this. Like basically, this is like pushing this out now to like the maximum feedback process, the advice process in the TEC. So Livia actually suggested just let's take it out of the document, the Google Doc, and just put it on the forum. So that's what I'm doing. I've got it mostly done. It's going to go on the forum probably later this afternoon. And then the other thing that I did was I just basically took out like all the key ideas. There's like 20 something of them, 23 of them. And I just put them in this Polis sentiment analysis that some of you have seen here, but some have not. And so it's this really cool, very powerful tool for kind of like looking at where there's consensus within a community or within a group of people. And I will share next week. I'll share the results of what comes from this poll. But I embedded that into the actual document, and it's going to go into the forum post as well. So this will be a way for us to kind of get really granular feedback on like all the key ideas that are in this document. So we stop there. Any questions or comments or thoughts about what else we need to do on that front? Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna just keep trucking along on that, and then how about the analyst? The reporting update. Rex, do you want to give us, and Bear too? You probably have some thoughts on this too. So can you guys just give us like an update on what's happening there?
Sure. Do you want to pull up the Sampo analyst work products thing, or do you think that's not necessary?
I can do
So
it.
I'm from my phone, so sorry I can't.
Yeah, I can do it. Hold on just one sec.
Right, thanks a bunch.
Is that Rex? Is that which one? Because you've got a couple different documents I see. So there's one that's like
It's under Sampo analyst notes, Sampo analyst work products. Open. I can send you the link otherwise.
hold on. Notes. Which one? Is it
The work products? No, just the work products one. Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, that's right. So, I've since last week, I think yourself, Zeptimus, and I kind of met and bet too on kind of what we've all been working on, how this is going to work, and we've kind of set out the process here in this document as to kind of how we can go about this financial report, and to kind of have a list of the requirements that we can work against, because I thought it was a bit broad. So it's the unified Treasury report's been moved to that. What's it? I think the Unified Treasury report has been moved onto that task. That's hashtag 34 at the very top. That hashtag 34.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Okay, yeah, there we are. Okay. So we kind of set out 2 to 3 project, and within the Unified Treasury report, so you can see that the goal of the report is to include the minimum essential information necessary to determine the worst case scenario. What has happened since the TEC started spending, and what happens if we don't do anything? We could extrapolate linearly, or put in some other caveats if you wish, and at which point would be the run out of funds, or with our current spending would be have to start rejecting some of the proposals or disbanding working groups, depending on how conviction voting works and its limitations. So I believe there's the 11% limitation on proposals and funding per month, and it'd be interesting to kind of see some of the other ones. The process that we kind of figured out would be to determine what visualizations are desirable, analyze the data in Dune, and Bear's been doing some great work. I'm sure he can talk about it on kind of doing it through spreadsheets. So I've been working somewhat with Anik. I think he's got quite busy, so kind of the timelines that we set each other kind of didn't go out, and I kind of picked up the slack as far as I can. but we've begun work on the Dune dashboard. Shared some of the visualizations, trying to copy, generate Bear's work on Dune, and we've got some other ideas that we haven't planned out yet. There's some questions in one of these, I believe either point 1 or point 2, as to kind of what questions you want to see answered from this report. It'd be great if some more of you gave feedback to that one and kind of specify kind of if we're missing anything.
Hey, Rex. So
Yes.
is it fair to say, is this a fair summary that basically we're kind of like mocking things up in the spreadsheet? And then
Yeah.
and then you're going to try to basically render that in Dune, not in the main Dune dashboard, but on kind of a side dashboard, so that when we get something done, Zeptimus can then take, if they want, they can take this thing
Yeah.
and integrate it into the main dashboard. Is that safe?
Yes, basically. So I've been creating all of the yes, yeah, that's the as succinctly as it is as one can put it.
Okay, cool.
And
Thanks. So, hey, maybe the thing to do is we can take that first one that you've got, which is like the visualizations, and just work that in the spreadsheet, like the stuff that Bear has done. Maybe that's our next step, is to just try to nail that, and then can we take that and bring it back to the group next week to just get some feedback on that?
Okay. I mean, I would like, if anybody in the group wants to like fill out some more requirements or some questions that aren't being answered, I think if I look at the one I think within some of these actions, there's the specific questions that we want to analyze, and unless they're kind of on there, or I won't. I'm not sure if we'll aim to kind of do them unless we kind of just figure them out, just out of the blue.
Okay. Well, and Bear, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, not really. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the work. I've been just like getting into the data with the Dune analytics, and trying to understand it better. And based on the feedback you've been providing, Gideon, with having like really simple stuff, clear stuff that anyone can understand. I've been trying uh, to make that Dune data into something more digestible, and I think that was something that maybe it was missing, like some like overall analysis of the expenses that all the working groups are having. Although it's in Dune, it's kind of hard to read and hard to understand. So yeah, I think it's all about like rearranging that info, and I think the work that Rex is doing now of taking this all back to Dune now. So now it can be like more automated and it's all there in one dashboard. I think that's also gonna be great. But yeah, I think it's just a good resource to have a better understanding of the position of all the working groups.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing that we're trying to do is just get with the Treasury, like to be able to look at all of the multi-sig accounts together, so that we just like can see the whole thing in one view, right? All of the money that's lying around in the various crevices of TEC, from laser tag to the working groups.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt, Gideon. With that, yeah, that's actually one thing that I've been thinking about. So what I decided to do with this first document is just to focus on working groups. Like I think those are the operations that the TEC is having are coming from the working groups. So maybe it's also part of this idea of categorizing the different expenses and the different multi-sigs and fonts that the TEC is using. Because also when I was doing this, I found a little confusing that in the same table in the Dune Analytics, you could see the laser tag and also the rewards board. Although they are not working groups, they are just multi-sigs. Maybe it would be nice to have them differentiated in different dashboards, And then, so my idea was also like, once we have this part figured out about the working groups and the operating part of the TC, I think it's also important to have an even more general and bigger overview of the whole TEC, right? Including the laser tag, including the rewards board, including a lot of different other projects that I found that, like CatCat or like, different proposals that have passed that are not directly related with any working group, but that they are still taking funds from the common pool. And I think it's important, right? Because all this analysis is just based on the working groups, and just taking in consideration the working groups, we're already spending a lot of money, right? So once we start considering the other things, this number is not gonna decrease, right? It will increase. So yes, we just have to be conscious about it.
Okay. All right. So we'll talk in a couple days to just kind of look at what this mock-up is going to look like, get the next round of feedback on that, and bring it back to everybody. Does anybody who's not directly involved in this have like thoughts on things that you'd really like to see in a report like this, especially like this first phase, which is like a unified treasury? Like what's the state of our holdings right now?
Sorry to interject. If you click on number 1 there, you should be able to see kind of the questions. There's all the questions that we're trying to that we thought of for this report. So those are the ones we thought to go over there, and if there's anything else as well.
I don't know if this is the right place for this thought, but I was thinking something challenging about conviction voting is that you submit a proposal, like for example, the comms proposal that is about to pass now. As you were saying today, Griff, I was thinking about this. So it will pass probably in 5 days, but what if I am against that proposal, but I am in favor of another proposal passing? So I don't want to add to abstain because I don't want to slow down the whole process. But I also don't want to create a conflict or like something weird and challenge on Celeste.
By voting on your other project, you are slowing down that other one from winning. So like voting on abstain is when you don't like any of them. But if you vote, every time you vote, you're increasing the number of voters. So that slows down the project. Like if you vote on for the other project or you vote for abstain, project B that you don't like would be slowed down the exact same amount.
But it would be, I think my point is just that it would be slowed down to the point that it would eventually pass. And maybe that, like, it feels like the signal we get from the community is like for urgent times like this, for example, like we want to optimize how funds are being spent. And then, yeah, what I thought that could be a solution for that in like more culturally embedding in this process with Sampo could be for us to map out the state of advice process and then bring a little bit more weight to this 5 days where proposals are in the forum for advice process. And maybe if there is like a heavy like no for this to be posted during advice process, that yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that can turn into something real, like a policy. Like, oh, if there's enough people saying no in advice process, this shouldn't be submitted to conviction voting because it will be challenged. Or, I'm just thinking how we could make a little bit of a bigger filter before it gets into the situation of like things are kind of passing slowly.
I think the challenge is the conviction voting in itself is meant to allow minority voters to pass votes eventually, right? So to come in with this like veto approach is like has been excluded by the design with intention. Of course, we could say like what we could do is we could say unless it's been approved by this board and have that in the covenant, then it's okay. We can make these extra rules, but we'd have to make them in the covenant and then challenge. Or we can also in the back end we can limit who is allowed to create proposals. Right now it's only the proposal deposit that limits it, right? But we could also change that and make it so only one group can create proposals. But both of those approaches are kind of antithetic. Like they're not really the go with the vibes of conviction voting.
Yeah, they're not really go with the vibes of the community too. I'm just thinking like how could we just create more awareness without having to be like a veto type of thing, but just creating more feedback before the proposals are actually up there.
One thought, as we've been wrestling with this over the last week, and especially given some of the feedback in the council last week, one of the things that you said, Livia, actually is now resonating more deeply with me, which is I think our best process is going to be just showing what good looks like developing some proposals that are like, and this is part of what's guiding what I'm trying to do with the Sampo proposal is like making things really lean, really trying to explain exactly what we'll get from each one of these proposals. And like, if we can demonstrate with a couple of these proposals, like some ways of really selling it and keeping it lean and small for this new reality that we're in, that might be a good way. It's kind of just modeling.
Yeah, I would also like to say that part of the concern that I have is that now that I'm starting to understand better how conviction voting works, I think the real concern is not that we run out of funds, like the common pool won't get to zero for how it works, but we will reach the point where proposals simply just don't pass, right? Like, and when is that moment coming? Well, I was reading a really great analysis that Nate did, and that shared with some of the Sampo people, where he was saying that there's this 11%, right, that can be used for passing proposals in the common pool. So that means that when the common pool gets to 450K, then that 11% will be around 50K of a proposal that would be able to pass. So having this in mind, and with the current balance of the common pool and the current expenses of the working groups, just considering the working groups, like in April, the spending of all the working groups was 50K, and it's been increasing since February. So if we assume that this spending rate will stay like that in reality, I think it will keep increasing until I don't know what amount. If we keep these assumptions, we're talking about that we will be reaching this point in about 5 months, right? In about 5 months, we won't be able to probably pass any more proposals because that's like the limit, right? So how to, and I think it's a really short time, right? Because we're only considering the spending from the working groups. If we consider everything else, it's probably less than 5 months. So from how I see it, and if I'm not missing any other factor that could change this situation, it's kind of like a important situation to figure out. And I think that this ties up with what you guys are discussing right now about the proposals. I think it all goes back to the idea of finding ways to generate revenue. If we want to keep passing all the proposals that we want in the faster way we want and the most efficient way, I think we need to generate revenue as soon as possible to at least be even with the expenses. Not even, maybe if we could just slow down the spending rate, I think that would be a great advancement.
Yeah, just a couple comments on that. One is the other factor is that, starting in July, some portion of people's TEC holdings that were locked up will start to become available. It'll be slow, but that is another factor too that will cut into the common pool. So I think I just one overview thought, and then Griff, I'd like to ask you a question related to this too. My overview thinking on this is that the revenue side of these, we need to start that as soon as possible. But because there's like time, it's going to take time to actually spin that up. We may get a few thousand die here and there from like getting Gravity, consulting with someplace, or but to get significant revenues, it's going to take us a little while, and it's probably going to be fundraising that will be the thing that will first enable us to get some money in the door, rather than actual revenues. Revenues will probably take 9 months to a year to like start showing up significantly. So from my perspective right now, I feel like the biggest lever that we have is actually slowing spending down in a way that doesn't hurt us in the long term. It's like, how do we just become way more effective in the way that we spend the funds that we have? So that's what is kind of my philosophy, or the kind of the way that I'm taking this right now. I don't know what other people think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best way to slow down spending is culturally, and we just say, hey, we don't want to spend some more. We made it. And I feel like that's already been done, honestly, and just making sure that's repeated, and then focusing on, because it is self-regulating, and so as long as we culturally, get it into people's head and maybe make some kind of clear, like, I think it helped to say, hey, Sampo working group recommends X number of die are spent on every month, and work within that budget, guys. Like, I feel like that would have like a really strong cultural impact. But beyond that, I really think that conviction voting is meant to regulate itself. And it does, and it has been, because it's very slow as we run low on money. It's very hard to get money out. So things are working as expected, and and then let's see what we can focus on for income. And I think just having if we can show that there will be revenue. I mean, look at every tech startup that's ever existed. None of them had revenue for many years. Amazon spent decades not having revenue, right? Or something like that. At least a decade not having revenue, and just spending on growth, spending on growth, spending on growth. But because people saw the potential, they bought Amazon stock, right? And I think we're in a similar place. Unlike most nonprofits, they don't have a stock people can buy. We don't have to actually produce revenue, because we also have a token. I mean, we do have to have the potential to produce revenue. but we have a stock effectively. So we can play the same game that Apple and Amazon and these other large organizations play, which is like, how do we gain shareholder traction? How do we show that there will be future revenue? And yeah, I feel like that's almost as important as having actual revenue. Probably more important. I don't know. I don't know if that was a coherent response to your question, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is, and I think it's like building the plans that show the vision for how we can make money is going to be really important to then doing fundraising, right? It's like because it's then selling the vision, right? Okay, I think we need to move on. This is a super important topic, and I think next week maybe we'll have a little bit more progress on the financial reporting stuff, so we can dive into that a little bit more. But one thing that we'll follow up with you on later, Griff, is you had mentioned last week you might have some ideas about doing some projections, even in the uncertainty of conviction voting, about like spending. So we'll come back to you later and see if you've got some thoughts on that. Fair?
Can you so you're looking for what exactly are you looking for?
Yeah, so this was last week. We were talking about looking at our spending, kind of the outflow of funds, or the usage of funds, and how it's actually really tied up in the speed with which proposals are passed, and that's actually getting harder and harder. So we can't just do a linear projection of like, oh, this is, in April and May we were spending this level. Like, it's not going to be a linear projection.
Yeah. So you're looking for that projection, like let's say that we are full on the gas trying to spend money. How fast could we even deplete this thing? Or do you want a few scenarios?
Yeah, it's more like, given the reality of how difficult it is to pass these proposals and how it's going to get harder and harder as the pool shrinks, how do we incorporate that into our projections of how fast we'll spend? Does that make sense?
Okay, so the question is like, how fast will we spend? And you want to see a spreadsheet that shows that?
So I think
that's yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, so kind of projecting how much we spend is one part, and then the other is the kind of the technical backstops that you'd be talking about, right? Because the how much we can spend is based on percentages, not on like fixed amounts. So it's at what point does the technical limitations of kind of how the pool works, how conviction voting works, mean that like we can't, like some proposals won't be passed, like we can't keep on like increasing our spending. Like what's the limit to which we can spend and we can increase our spending or maintain our spending given these the mechanics of conviction voting and the pool? Is that kind of
Sure. Maybe I can just produce a spreadsheet that shows some scenarios of spending that's possible, and like give some like, hey, this is like the largest proposal that could pass effectively. Projections. I think I could do that.
How about this, Griff? How about we'll meet in the next day or so to try to just nail this question so that it's super crisp and clear, and then come back to you with like, here's what we'd like your help on in terms of thinking about doing a forecast with conviction voting. Okay, let's do that, just because I want to keep us moving forward. So in the
Sorry, Gideon. Just to finish that, just a quick comment. I think also maybe part of that projection is this idea of 5 months. I think that based on the spending that we actually been having, that's like the projection based on Nate's analysis. I don't know if that could take part of Griff's analysis also, or if it's a different thing. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, I think some of that is in Nate's document. So let's just, because we've ended up using a big chunk of this meeting. This is super important, but I feel like we need to actually just let's take this part offline, get it a little bit more clear what it is exactly we're trying to show in this report, and then come back. I think we're close, but I think we're not quite there yet, but we'll get there. Okay. The other thing that I really would like us to, if you look in the text channel, there's a link to a document that's called the Sampo People Plan. First question is, can you all get to that document? Can everybody get in? Give me a thumbs up if you're in. And yes, you may think I may have to send you invitation to get into the Sampo working group. But you actually should be able. Here, I'm going to give you another. I'm going to put another link in there. You should be able to use this. Oh no. I'm going to have to follow up with you afterwards. Yes. Can I just follow up with you separately to send you an invitation?
Yep, thank you.
So what I'm hoping we can do is just use this document as a place where people can, just put your name and then like the kinds of expertise that you have that you think is relevant to Sampo as we're ramping up the work that we've got to do, and the areas of interest, like the things that you like doing and think you can contribute. And is anybody having any problem getting into this document at this point, aside from yes?
I don't
I'm
have
still
access.
looking for
I
it.
can ping you later.
Okay. Did you see in the channel the link that's there?
I just joined now, so which channel?
It's in the Sampo channel. There's a thing that says Sampo People Plan.
I actually managed to get in, so I'm good.
Okay, good. And welcome. Is it how do you say your name? Is it 02
Andreas. Hey.
Andreas? Okay, welcome. Okay, so who's still having issues getting into the document? Anybody at this point? Okay. Okay, yes, and Andreas, I've sent you invitations to the Clarity. I just sent you invitations to the Clarity base, so you should be able to edit documents at this point too. Once you accept that, just let me know.
I have it, but I can't type.
Oh, you're on your phone?
Yeah. Likewise.
No, I'm
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if you've
I'm
accepted
having the
it,
same problem. I'm on my phone and I can't type.
okay.
I'm Crypto Zach and I can use the token to help fund the community.
Hold on, I'm just giving you some permissions. Hold on just a second.
okay. Works for me.
Okay. Okay. So now everybody should be able to do that. Crypto Zach, you should now have it too.
Sweet.
Okay. And Livia, are you able to, I don't know if you're still there right now, but are you able to get into this document?
Yeah, I'm here. But is there something where? Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed the instruction for the test.
Yeah, that's okay. There's a link in the text channel um, that if you just follow that, it takes you to a page where we're just basically inputting the expertise and interests that we have that we think will be relevant to Sampo.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So we're just going to take like 1 or 2 more minutes. I really just wanted to kickstart this in this call rather than you chew up the call doing all this stuff. But if you all have just a few minutes afterwards to just finish up with whatever you want to add into this, that'd be great. Um, just take 1 more minute. Okay, let's wrap up here. And like I say, you can come back if you want to add to it over time. You know where this document is at this point. Now that you're all into clarity at this point, if you just look over on the left-hand side, you can see my cursor. You'll see that this is where all like the main documents are. Sampo meetings is always at the top, so you always be able to get to our agenda and look at past agendas are down below. Document library we'll be building this over time. So like, this is external documents. So like Nate's document is here, and then there's a bunch of earlier stuff that that actually was before Sampo was even formed is in here. So we'll just be adding to this over time. You know, why Sampo, and then this is the thing I want to focus us on just with the remaining time we have is the Sampo manifesto. So this is just still in progress at this point. But this is like our next focus. The thing I'd like to just try to nail is, can you just all look at these options for the mission and look at these three, and let's just hear
How does
people
one
just quick.
How does one get to where you are? Because I look at my screen at the same point. I don't have anything. I just have Sample People Plan.
Is anybody else having the same problem? Is everybody up? Just give a thumbs up if you can get to this document. If you're
I'm just looking at your screen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But are other people not seeing that document in your view when you're looking in clarity?
Yeah, I only have the Sampo people plan as well.
Griff and Livia, how about you? And Bear? Rex?
I'm still in that old page.
Okay.
Yeah, I have access to it. I'm good.
Okay, if I go to Wiki, I can see the list of all the
Okay.
documents.
There's
and I
something
can
that's
click on it.
okay. Something is messed up here. I'm gonna have to. So let's just look on the screen sharing. You can all see this right now, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to read these out loud. Let's just get a vibe check on this. So Sampo Working Group supports and develops the economic layer that funds and aligns individual and organizational incentives with the mission of the Token Engineering Commons. The second option, the Sampo Working Group develops and manages mission-driven, community-owned, and governed capital to advance the field of token engineering. And then the third one is the latest one, which is the Sampo Working Group develops and grows the value of the economic layer of the Token Engineering Commons. It aligns this microeconomy with TEC mission and the collective success and individual benefit of its token holder.
Yes, I'm down for that one no matter what, even if it means working off into a different working group.
The last one?
Yeah, number 3, definitely. That's me. That's what I do.
That one is the closest to the TEC mission. It just basically draws exactly from the wording of the TEC mission and just focuses us on the economic layer of that
That's
mission.
why I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to just do like a 30-second vibe check. I'm going to start with you, Rex. 1, 2, or 3. And like, yeah, 3. Okay. Bear. 1, 2, or 3. Okay, I'm going to move on. We'll come back to you in a sec, Bear. Livia, how about you? 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, I like 3. I think it's more complete, but 2 also does the work.
Okay. Yes, how about you?
Yeah, for me, number 3 is also very concrete and succinct, so voting for that one too.
Okay, how about Griff? How about you?
Yeah, I think I'd go with 3. I really like advance the field of token engineering from number 2, but yeah, other than that, 3 nails it.
Okay, and Andreas? How about you?
Three's good.
Okay, I think we've got enough here. We'll take this one, maybe tweak it a little bit, and then lock it down.
So just to add on to this, it seems like the reason for these three options is because you're trying to have a balance of powers between different stakeholders in the ecosystem, which is important. But if you have engineering experts and tokenomic experts that are crafting these methods and utilities for the token, it might be hard for the people on the other side who balance the power to understand that. But I think that balance of powers is very important and should happen here in this ecosystem. But what number 3 is talking about is expertise with employing tokenomics. So it's if we can figure out a way to balance powers with tokenomic experts and those who are aligned for the long-term success of TEC, I think that would be ideal.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you all for your feedback. Feel free to, I'm gonna follow up with one or two of you to just see what's happening with these permissions. Something's off here. Maybe something I'm doing with clarity. Okay, for next week, just so we can wrap up right now, the focus for next week, what I'd like to do is return to the manifesto, the other parts of the manifesto that are in the same document, and then turn to the funding proposal, the Sampo funding proposal, because I want to get that out so we can actually start moving on things a little bit faster. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, thanks for all your time. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Have a
Gideon.
good day. Bye bye.
Bye.